talk about surgery because, as some of you have already heard me say, surgery is a very small part of the whole jigsaw puzzle. It is a puzzle, and I'll be very honest in confessing that science probably hasn't got all the answers that we are looking for, even though we want to know everything about weight loss. But I think we understand the fundamentals, and that's what we need to focus on. As they say, the complexity is the enemy of execution. The more complicated you make things, the more hard it is for you to put it into action. My job today is to talk about some simple aspects relating to weight loss surgery, of course, but very importantly, how it can be translated to lasting behavioral change. Because at the end of the day, what we are trying to do is, we're trying to use surgery as a tool to create lasting behavioral change. Now, I've been in this game for over 2.5 decades now, showing my age over here a little bit. But you know what? I've loved every day of the journey and for the opportunity to be able to make a positive difference in people's lives. So I firmly believe that we are all sent here to live life at full potential. And when I say full potential, as Thomas Edison said, that if we all did the things we are capable of doing, we would surprise ourselves. And that is really true. But the way I look at things, because I've been a student of the whole, being a dad, being a husband, being a brother, being a son, it teaches you a lot of things, as it does to every one of us, And the way I've come to understand is in the circle of life, there are 7 areas that are crucial to live a fulfilled life. It starts with health. And I firmly believe that it starts with health because a body that is not healthy cannot lead on to achieve fulfillment in the other 6 areas of life. Physical health, leading on to mental health. I believe financial health forms a very crucial part of this. Vocation, whatever profession you are in, if you are not bringing your whole life and soul into it, you're not really enjoying that very moment that has been given to you as a privilege. Certainly social, the family, the relationship aspects of it. I put spiritual health over here very importantly because no matter whichever religion we believe in, whatever faith we might have, unless we are deriving that spiritual purpose behind it, unless we are connecting with that source or creator, whatever you want to call it, I think life will be that much missing in that area of life. And lastly, it's about contribution. It's about giving back. It is about service. That's how I have come to look at life. And look, I always say I'm very teachable. We got to have an open attitude towards things. And I think, to me, attaining fulfillment in those 7 individual areas is a key part of leading a fulfilled life. We often look at people who are successful no matter which area of life they may be in, whether it's health. Well, we look at the top 10%, which is their part which is successful. You see someone who is amazingly beautiful, you just say, oh, how beautiful they are. But I think what we fail to see is the 90%, which is the effort that has gone behind that individual in if it is genuine. Of course, now I understand there's a lot of plastic surgery that can go on and a lot of Botox injections that can, create that temporary beauty. But I'm talking about something genuine, something very authentic. And I firmly believe that the hard work that has gone behind in creating that masterpiece, whatever it may be, is something which is very crucial for us not to overlook, because it's the commitment, it's the willpower, it's the ability to go to the gym even though you're not feeling or the weather is cold and all of that. So it's the commitment that you bring to the equation. And I think that's what is very crucial to understand. As Ralph Waldo Emerson said, first wealth is health. And I think if you're healthy, the way I've looked at this is, if you're healthy, a lot of people come and say that, oh, this is too expensive for me, and I can't afford weight loss surgery, or I can't afford to go on that vacation that I have been thinking of going. See, the currency of the universe is an idea. One idea can change your life. This is how I came to
believe, and when I started applying these principles in my own life, that my focus, my goal needs to be shifted to serving my community better. I could tell that my ability to reach out to people increased. This is just a thought that I'm sharing, and ideas come to a mind, to a brain that is healthy, that is not crying out in pain because of issues, because of joint pains and things like that. So that is just how I've come to look at it. When we talk about the specific problem about obesity, I think what really concerns me as a community, as a society, it's not just the adults, it's the childhood obesity. It's the children, it's the next generation that we are going to be handing over a legacy of, not only just financial debt, but debt in terms of, poor habits. How do you change them? It takes a long time to change an old ingrained habit. And that's where I think, in order to address that childhood obesity, I believe the one most important way is to become better role models. I'm sure all the parents in this audience would agree with me that no matter how hard you tell your child to do something, they are not going to do it unless they see you role modeling it. Can I just have a show of hands if people agree with me, please? Thank you. Thank you so much. So I guess the message is clear. I can't tell my kids not to have cakes and muffins if I've got one in my own hand. So that's really where we got to take charge of things. In terms of the medical sort of burden that the whole problem of obesity creates for the society, because let's be honest, we hear stories almost every other day in the media that the Medicare system is under extreme pressure. The waiting lists are blowing out of proportion. The thing is that, just to share some statistics with you, Access Economics did this research from 2008, I think, if I can read it correctly, 2000, it's a bit old, but still quite relevant, that the annual maintenance cost in a dollar value per patient for each comorbidity associated with obesity, like type 2 diabetes, they're spending about $12,000 per year per patient just to maintain that particular problem associated with obesity. Cardiovascular disease, osteoarthritis, cancers. So you can tell how it all amounts to the financial burden that it leads. And what is the root cause of all of this? It is issue stemming up from the weight. So this is really a balancing act, and in year 2000, Australia's population was 59% were classed as overweight or obese, and we are now at 72%. Now, I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way or to kind of say that, hey, this is what we know, but I guess we need to, in order to change anything in our lives, it's a 3-step process. We got to know where we are today, we got to know where we want to go tomorrow, and then we got to chalk out the path. So that's the 3-step process. And I guess in my today's presentation, I'm going to be talking about 3 myths that are commonly floating around. And they're quite different to what Hannah is going to be addressing. I can assure you that, because we have tallied our presentations. But I think the first question that often comes up is that, why do attempts at weight loss fail repeatedly? See, when I got into bariatric surgery, I visited lots of centers and all of that. And what I realized was that, yes, these centers were performing great operations and helping lots of people. But when you looked at their long-term data, going up to 5 years, 7 years, 10 years in certain instances, some peak institutions from United States of the reputation of Harvard were having a weight regain rate of up to 33%. Which means 1/3 of every patient that was undergoing surgery was going to come back with a weight regain. Now that almost sounds depressing. But that's when we got into, studying this concept of what actually leads to the behavioral change, which is what we're going to talk about. And I'm going to digress slightly from surgery. So please, I'm not talking to you as a surgeon, but I'm really talking to you as a student of life and the whole mind-body connection. If you imagine this as your brain, okay, there are three minds in a brain. Now, I have studied this stuff a lot, so I know what I'm talking about, and you don't have to be a brain surgeon to be talking about this. All right. So there are three minds in your brain. Understand this. Number one is the conscious mind. The conscious mind takes in all the information and has got the willpower, the thinking, planning, logic, reason, and all of that. Then comes your unconscious or the subconscious mind, which is where your operating system rests. Okay, subconscious habits like beliefs, your behaviors, emotions and feelings, values, and even addictions. Mind you, all of us have addictions. Some have addictions to sugar, some have addictions to self-approval, looking for praise, and some have addictions to alcohol and other drugs. There is an addiction that everyone has. It is more a weakness. Now, in between the conscious and the subconscious mind rests your analytical mind. This is the mind that is a filter. This is allowing information to go from the top, which is conscious mind, which you get to hear. Now, someone might tell you that, hey, you need to actually exercise every day. All right, well, you know that, but your analytical mind says, but not on a day when it's freezing outside, not on a day when you've got important work commitments. You can't get up early, so you can't exercise on that day. So it comes up with an excuse not to do it. Why? Because there is always a flow of information that is happening between the conscious and the subconscious mind. Information from your conscious mind that you are using to create lasting change will only go into your operating system if your analytical mind allows it to go through. Now, I know we have a psychologist in our audience. Do we? Yes, Sophia. Oh my God. So I better make sure that I am talking the right stuff. I hope I am talking the right stuff, Sophia.
I'm not
But
a neuropsychologist. So.
but I guess the point is, we are using this is what I talk about when I talk to patients who come for weight loss surgery. We are operating on the abdomen, but tapping into the power of the gut-brain axis, such that we can create the lasting change in our operating system. There is a gut-brain axis. It is well known now. It is well established. It used to be thought that all the information, or the brain was the control center of everything in the body. Totally wrong. 80% of the nerve impulses are going from the gut to the brain, and only 20% are coming down, which was new information. And this was something that I learned when I was in the process of publishing my book, which came out last year. So there is a gut-brain axis. What possible effects does it have? It influences our anxiety, depression. It is associated now with obesity, diabetes, irritable bowel syndrome, autism, and even Parkinson's disease, which are neurological conditions. Who would have thought of that? And our diet plays a huge role in influencing that gut-brain axis and what kind of information is going there. Why? Because ultimately it is influencing our diet is influencing the type of bacteria that live in our gut. So when it comes to weight loss surgery, doesn't matter which operation you're talking about, whether it is the sleeve, the lap bands, the gastric bypass, or the mini gastric bypass, which is another form of operation that I do. All these operations cause a change in the hormonal signaling that happens within our metabolism. And these hormones then influence our brain, our appetite centers, our appetite regulating centers, and our satiety centers. Now, this is the part that we don't quite understand very well, in all honesty. Science doesn't understand it very well. There are lots of theories around it. But I think what has come in the equation is the good and the bad bacterial balance, which is the bacteria that reside in your gut. They call it your home. They are 100 times more powerful than the number of cells that you have in the body. And the one thing that influences them is your diet. If your diet is rich in plant-based diet, which is plant-based fiber, you will feed the good bacteria, which is on your left. And if it is rich in processed diet, which is pizzas, burgers, chips, and Tim Tams, and all of that, you will be causing the bad bacteria to go up in number, which is what makes the metabolism poor. And they have studied the gut bacteria in a lean individual versus an obese individual. The difference is in the level of inflammation that is there in the individual's body. So I guess it is important to understand that, the diet influences your gut microbiome, which is signaling signals to your brain, and there is an interaction that is happening there. So I guess in a healthy status, this is how the inflammation is under control, whereas when there is abnormal gut bacteria, as I just mentioned, it is crucial that the gut bacterial function can be addressed relatively quickly in order to start that repair process. Happy gut truly equates to healthy weight, which is the title of the book, and there are these various effects, which is something that I have taken from my book, which is available today if any one of you is interested. So coming back to the same equation of how the gut-brain axis is influencing our brain function or our function of our mind, is something which is very important to understand when it comes to why do people regain the weight, which was my original question to start. And the reason is that yes, they've had surgery, but they have not done the translation of using this to change this. Because that's where people will kind of, switch from being a success to a failure. And that's the distinguishing criteria. All right. So I guess the key thing, so that is myth number one. The key success ingredient, a lot of people think, is willpower. I contest that. It's not willpower. It is, I always say, why power will always overtake willpower. Why do you want to do something? Whatever you want to do, you need to find a reason bigger than yourself that is going to drive you to achieve the results that you want. Doesn't matter whether it's a health goal, it's a financial goal, it's a relationship goal, the why is crucial. And this is where, there's been a lot written about it, but I put it very simply, and I apply this to anything that I do personally in my life, that why am I doing it? The second myth that is there is, isn't energy in and energy out the reason for excess weight? A fairly simplistic equation. And look, I probably will not delve much into it because that will fall, and I know Hannah is going to, kind of elaborate more on that. But I can say this, that almost every week I come across a lady or a person who's tried a new diet. It's a 5-2 diet, it is a keto diet. This morning I was on a radio interview talking about intermittent fasting. Now, all amazing things, but the biggest question is whether it is sustainable. You can't live the rest of your life on OptiFast, let's be honest. You will certainly be supporting Nestle and they'll be very happy with you, but the point is that it is not sustainable. And that's where calorie counting has failed. Then it comes to exercise exhaustion. You could eat whatever you like to and go and exercise in the gym. Well, we saw from the study that was done on The Biggest Losers. Now, I don't know whether, I'm sure everyone over here is familiar with The Biggest Loser. The situation is that they did this study on The Biggest Losers and followed them for 6 years. And what they found was, out of the 27 people that they studied, only one maintained their weight at year 5. All the others had regained the weight. Once again, when you are at a high BMI and you're trying to exercise, you are putting your ligaments, your joints under a lot of strain, and that is prone to injury. And I'm sure many of you would agree with me on this through personal experience. So the vicious cycle of dieting is something that is not only not sustainable, but it's actually counterproductive because your body goes through a stressful response. When you are fasting, the body thinks that, oh, this person is fasting, I better conserve every energy that is being made available to me. But when the individual is feasting, the body is still in that mode of preservation, self-preservation, because we don't know when the individual is going to start fasting again. So that is the challenge which leads to progressive weight gain. And the last thing is about genetics. I think we all love to blame our genetics, isn't it? I'm sure, I love to blame my genetics when it comes to hair loss, but, I've come to accept it now. But then when I was researching this subject for my book, I realized that our genetics only plays less than 1% of the role in our individual sort of expression, genetic expression that we are talking about. Now, I'll explain that a little bit more, but when it comes specifically to obesity, the scientists had thought in 2007 that they had discovered the fat gene. But then it was not found to be consistent in the studies that they did. So that model was thrown away. But then there was the rise of this model of epigenetics, which means something above genes. Epi means above, genes is obviously the genetic material. And what they found that is our environment is influencing our genes. And what is happening is that when we are in a favorable environment, it turns on certain genes, like health-producing genes. And when we are in a toxic or unfavorable environment, such as, industrial pollution and, processed food, smoking and all of that, it turns on disease-producing genes. So every time you are subjecting, depending on the environment, you're turning on and turning off certain genes. And that is what now is the most supported theory when it comes to genetics and disease. In medicine, there are literally 12 to 15 diseases only which have got a one-on-one genetic condition or genetic association, which means that if you have that gene, you will get that disease. And mind you, obesity is not one of them. Cancers are not one of them. You'd be surprised to hear that. You reading the stories from Angelina Jolie, who had the BRCA gene, who had the double mastectomy that got so famous. Well, the thing is that people with BRCA gene only have 50% risk. And those 50% who don't develop breast cancer are not expressing it because of the epigenetic model. So what I'm just trying to get at, to put very simply over here, is that there is an interaction which is happening between the genes, the gut microbiome, which is reliant on the diet, and the neurobiome, which is the brain chemicals. So there is this active interaction going on. So if the individual has got well-managed stress, they have got a healthy brain chemistry, which translates to healthy genetic expression, and it leads to healthy microbiome. And all those things that I mentioned in the inner circle, well-managed stress, good sleep, mind-body exercise, green space, plant-based diet, which again is plant-based Mediterranean style diet, is what I really focus on. And that is what goes in the saying that the body achieves what the mind believes. So I guess, friends, I think all I could say in simply wrapping this up is that weight loss surgery criteria and all of that I'm sure you're very familiar with, but I'm very happy to answer this question. But it is like a beautiful, expensive piece of machinery, all right? But if you don't know how to use it properly, unfortunately, this is what happens. So I don't want anyone to be in a situation where they've been handed over this beautiful piece of machinery. I want them to ride the ride of their life. And that's my goal, that's my mission, and that's why we talk about an integrated approach to weight loss surgery, where we talk about using elements of stress management, using elements of re-strengthening the gut microbiome, using elements of exercise and breath control. And some of my videos and some of the material that I have put out there talks about this. So I really want to say that I can't thank every one of you for sparing your time today to allow me to be of service and allow me to share my views with you. And I wish you from the core of my heart the very best of luck. Thank you. I'm going to now invite Dina, who's become a dear friend actually. We started out when she came to see me for a consultation along with her dad, who is a GP and a very well-respected, well-regarded, very seasoned man. And Dina, if it's okay, I'll just put out your presentation. Please come here. Just be mindful of these, few little wires here which we can't. So Dina had a surgery in January of 2018. Dina, I would probably say, why don't you share your experience and whatever the challenges that you were experiencing, and let us see what questions it generates.
Thank you. Hi everyone, so I'm Dina, I'm one of Dr. Dhir's patients, and I had my surgery, it's actually February 2018, so about 18 months ago, and I've since lost about 30 to 33 kilos, and I've dropped from a size 18, 20 to a comfortable 10, 12 at the moment, which is fantastic. So you can see sort of 3 shots, January, July, December of sort of 2018 and the progression. Now the one after that is, I was just dying to do one of these shots. You know how people lose weight and they have to go, ta-da! I had to do. So these pants are about a size 18 and I was wearing a 12, which I'm happy to say is now too big for me. So that's the good news. The journey was really good. I mean, doctor has just looked after me, and the best thing that I did was to actually listen. And whatever doctor said, I did. And I just got through it. It was not hard. Probably one main regret, I'm sorry doctor, I have to be honest, is that I waited till I was 43 to get it done. I wanted to do it earlier, and I should have done it earlier, to be honest with you. This is just January this year, which is 11 months post-op in my little size 12 dress. So in terms of the surgery itself, it's not the solution, as doctor said, it's a tool. And if you use it properly, you're going to get results out of it. But if you don't, you're not going to get anywhere. I've had quite a few friends that have had it done and they've had great results in terms of weight loss and in terms of fitness. So I had problems with my back and my knees and blood pressure medication and whatnot. All of that's gone now, so that's the good news. Other than that, it was just, 18 months ago, like I said, and unfortunately, November last year I was diagnosed with breast cancer. But thankfully, I'd lost a lot of weight before that, and that helped. My energy levels were okay. I went through chemo, I went through radio, and I've actually just finished radio last week. So here I am, basically. I got through it, and it really helped. I said to doctor, it actually saved my life because I lost the weight. I was able to find it. So that's the positive side of things. Nothing negative as such about the surgery itself. You just got to listen to your body and listen to the doctor and listen to your dietitian. If you follow the rules, you'll be fine. If you go stupid, good luck. You'll end up in hospital, I kid you not. But that's basically it. That's my journey, and I'm happy to take any questions later, or,
Well, I have a question.
Oh,
now.
sure.
just I couldn't hold myself. So thank you so much. And
That's
you know
okay.
what? That is really amazing. I think it's the attitude that you bring to the whole equation is crucial, as with anything in life.
Yeah.
Any work is 80% psychology, 20% is you just go through the physical act, But what I wanted to ask you was, Dina, I remember that you had issues with reflux
Yes.
prior to surgery, and I bring this up because it's a very topical thing, and a lot of people ask me, what about reflux after sleep?
Sure.
In fact, currently we are doing a study with St. Vincent's in terms of gastroesophageal reflux after sleep. So you had a hiatus hernia, if you don't mind me
Yes.
sharing
No,
with the
of course.
audience. So could you tell us what were your symptoms before you had the surgery, and how are they now?
So I had what's called a hiatus hernia, so basically reflux. And before surgery, I would get so bad that sometimes I'd be popping Gaviscon every couple of hours just to try and suppress the heartburn. It was just really bad. And after the surgery, it subsided significantly. I do still take medication once a day, but that's because of all the other medication that I'm on at the moment for the cancer. That's a different story altogether. But having said that, if I do forget the medication, it's not the end of the world. I haven't had Gaviscon for at least 15 months.
Okay.
Actually, no, not since the surgery. Let's correct that one. Not since the surgery. I haven't had Gaviscon.
Okay.
So I'm on the omeprazole, as you know, and
Yeah. Whereas prior to that, you were not only having Gaviscon, but despite having Gaviscon,
It
you
was
were
not
having to wake up from your sleep at night and all of that.
correct.
I remember.
Yeah, it was quite bad.
Yeah.
But that's something that obviously with the surgery, doctor fixed that up for me, so that helped as well.
Yeah, and I think the reflux is a big thing because when when individuals carry a lot of truncal fat in the middle part, it causes a lot of pressure, which causes the high risk hernia to develop.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things that happen after surgery which can actually improve your chances of, getting that reflux on an ongoing basis. Of course, some individuals are prone to get more reflux, in which case it's a different situation and it might need to be addressed separately. Good. Can we all give a round of applause to Amazing good. Please. I'd now like to invite Dr. DeBanks, if that's okay. I know we started a little bit early, Palmyra.
I was late. So.
No, not at all. Please don't apologize. I know you're a busy GP. Please come on. Come. So, thank you for coming, firstly.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Palmyra, we've got, I should say, we're keen to hear from you about, as a medical practitioner, I know you see lots of patients, you see people who are at various, ends of spectrum of, struggling with weight, having issues and all of that. We'd like to hear a little bit about what was your journey like, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
And please, you can just
So-
be mindful of this. I'm standing here so that no one trips.
So I've also had surgery earlier on this year. January this year, I think it was, I had surgery, and since then I've lost nearly 40 kilos with very little effort, just changing my eating, and the impact of the surgery has really helped. As a GP, I was 120 odd kilos. Patients used to like to come and talk to me because it was less threatening to talk to somebody who understood a bit more about what was going on. I didn't have all the answers. I still don't have all the answers, but I'm able to share my story with my patients, a lot of whom have now come and seen you, because they've also been impressed by not only that I've lost the weight, but I just look younger, I move easier, I feel more relaxed in myself. I've been liberated from the social anxiety I used to get. I didn't realise how bad it was, how much it had built up over the 20 years or so that I've been working. But I used to get really anxious when I was going to social things like school events. I remember getting really drunk at a school disco once to try and cope with the worries I had about how everyone was judging me and what I looked like. And even though my sensible brain, my analytical brain would say, oh, what have I got to be embarrassed about? I'm a nice person, I've got a nice job, I've got lovely kids. But it's still, there's something that we see where people are judging us, and since then it's been brilliant. I feel a different person. I walk like I'm 10 or 15 years younger. I go to the park with the kids and I start running without even thinking about it. I'm moving more, I'm doing more, I have more energy. So for me it's been liberating, and I've been sharing that with my patients who again are still coming to me because I think they realise I understand the difficulties, that it isn't energy in, energy out, there's your solution. There's more to it. There's more to why we can't keep the weight off, why we go through these cycles of 120 down to 100, 120. We've all been there. We all know what it's like. We all know the pressures. We all know what it's like to go to social functions and be worried everyone's judging us on what we've picked up and put on our plate. So for me, it's been a really liberating experience. And I'm still partway through my journey. I'm still hoping to get another 20 odd kilos off, but I'm not stressing about it because I'm enjoying, being me a lot more than I have in many, many years. So as a GP, I find people come to me for advice, and I think everybody is different. And I talk to patients about why they're overweight and what they see is their sort of root cause. And a lot of them don't share the same problems that I did. So I would sit on the couch in the evening after the kids had gone to bed, and I'd open a packet of chips, and suddenly 2 hours later they'd all gone, or the Oreos in the cupboard would be talking to me while I was doing nothing. So and for me that was my issue. So the surgery has been brilliant. I can't eat a packet of chips without feeling discomfort. It reminds me when I'm a few chips in that I shouldn't be doing this because it's not good for
Only
me.
half a packet now.
No, not even that.
Okay.
Like, your brain has changed. My appetite. It's just, and I think because
You're still in the honeymoon phase.
Yeah, and I've been through if you go through surgery and you go through sort of that change, you don't want to go back. So you stop yourself and you have these physical reminders through the discomfort, or just because you've got up and you're like, oh no, I don't want to be there again. I don't want to go back to that place. And
Quick question there, Palmyra. Being a medico, sometimes you worry about the worst things first.
Yes.
I think that's how we are all conditioned, being in med school and all that. You worry about the worst thing first, So anything that you were going through in terms of, risk of leak, risk of bleeding.
Oh, I rang you
and
2 days after surgery. Do you not remember? In a
You
panic
did?
because
Oh,
I
I
had a
remember that.
temperature.
That's why I'm
I
asking
was
you
like,
the
on a
question.
Sunday, I was like, oh my god, I've got a fever. Oh my god,
I've got a
oh my God,
leak. She
I've got a
called
leak.
me 2 days after discharge. That
And then sensible brain kind of wasn't working at that point, and luckily Dr. Steele was like, wow, are you in pain? No, actually I'm not in pain. Oh, why is the temperature? Well, it's actually only about 37.8, so it's not too bad. And he's like, oh, any other symptom? Might have like a bit of a runny nose. Oh, maybe we'll wait a bit longer. so even the sensible sort of experienced ones have an X. But my biggest thing is I remember for 2 weeks before the surgery going, what the hell am I doing? I may be fat, but I'm healthy. I don't have any health problems, and I could walk out of this and be sicker. Am I crazy doing this? And actually, looking back now, I can say really happily, I'm glad I pushed through those fears. But I think they're really natural fears to have before any kind of surgery. But overall, the benefits I can't emphasize how different and how much better I feel than I did at the start of this year. And I'm hoping to still see some more improvement. I might have to put a bit more effort into the exercise.
yeah. So how are the school meetings going now? They're pretty good.
I just enjoy them. I don't turn up tense. I don't put on. I used to.
So
I
it
think I
seems
get
like you were
quite
more
shut
tense
off.
about yourself than the
Oh,
kids'
completely.
reports.
Yeah, absolutely. And there were days I'd go to the shops and I'd be like, I need to buy some new clothes, but there were days when I couldn't even face looking in the mirror in the changing rooms. And I can't remember, for years I stopped using changing rooms. I'd always take things home and change at home and then take things back if I didn't like them, just because it was all too embarrassing, it was too difficult, the changing rooms were too small, the other people were there, just so much precious psychologically that we put on ourselves. That's all gone.
Yeah. No, awesome. Any questions for Dr. DeBanks?
Was it a sleeve or?
I had a sleeve and I had a fundoplication as well because I also had a hiatus hernia. We are very similar. I also had surgery at 43, so.
How's your reflux now, by the way?
I eat a lot more cheese than I used to. So quite often in the evening, if I want a snack, I'll have a couple of bits of cheese on the little wafers, and I think that triggers it. So if I have that really late, I sometimes wake up at night with it. But generally, I mean, that's like once every 3 or 4 months. I can't.
Okay.
So compared to what it was before,
Awesome. That's good.
non-existent.
Yeah, and I think it's a combination of factors. It's not just sort of, just the repair form's a key part of it, but I think just the weight loss, less pressure, and all of that contributes to the whole thing. Awesome. Homera, thank you so much. Thank you so much.